I'm Allison, and last week I quit my job to pursue art full-time. Okay, so I want to fully explain everything that led me to the decision of quitting my job. It wasn't just something that I was like, one day I went into work and was like, I don't like this, I'm just gonna stop. It was a lot of build up to that point. But I think that it would be best, it'd be easier to like explain it if I went back to what my path has been as an artist and as a designer, so that you can kind of see the progression that led up to that point. When I very first started college, my major was actually fine arts, and I really enjoyed painting my entire life. Art and painting have always been a huge part of my life, and so that carried into college, and I knew that I wanted to pursue art in some way, and I just didn't know what that was when I first started. I just knew that that was what I wanted to pursue. So naturally, when I got to college, I started taking art classes because that's what I really enjoyed doing and what I really wanted to do. And at some point, I don't know how it evolved. I think I was told by some people that it would be really, really hard to actually make a career and make a living out of doing that kind of work, out of painting and doing that. So I thought, well, how can I utilize my skills as an artist and still make money? And that is where graphic design came in. And that is when I started going, okay, well, I can fuse the two. I can actually illustrate, use my hands and illustrate stuff, and use my creative skills with composition and the stuff like that I enjoy doing, and just do it on the computer and be able to have a stable job and be able to have a stable income. So that is, at that point, I decided to start taking design classes, and that was my major, and I went full force into that. And I actually really enjoyed that a lot because I felt I was learning so much. Like, I had no idea what I was doing right away. I had not touched Adobe before college. I hadn't touched Adobe. I wasn't really that computer savvy at all. And all of a sudden I got myself my very first MacBook Pro, and I started just learning a lot, learning all the programs, and I felt really accomplished that I was able to learn so much. I get my portfolio together. My senior year of college, we had to put together a website and a portfolio and do all that stuff that you have to do to get ready to try and find your first job. I had been applying for months and months. It took me a while to get that first job because most people, when they're first starting out, you have to be persistent for so long. Some people get it right off the bat, but a lot of people have to keep applying and have interviews and just keep on working on your portfolio, do free work, do as much as you can. And so I did that for, I'd say I graduated in May. I got a job in December of that year, and I loved it. I was making money doing what I went to college to do, and the thing that I actually really enjoyed doing. All along this, I was still painting. I believe I was still working on my art, but it was more on the back burner at that point, because that was just my entire existence, and my entire life was trying to get that first job. And finally that I got it, now I dove into that, and I dove into trying to get better as a designer, and I loved all of my coworkers, and they were all just like so encouraging too. And like they immediately said I was a great designer, and I felt great about that. And we hung out all the time, and that's where I met my now husband. But we started dating while I worked there. it was a hospital that I designed for. And so it was a lot of different types of things that I was able to do there. There was print design, there was like a lot of print and a lot of events that we did for the community, which was a lot of fun because they could all be themed differently. And you had, you know, like the newsletters, the flyers, the billboards. I thought that was huge too. I was like, that's big, that's going on a big thing, and I did that and people are seeing that. That's pretty interesting. And like t-shirts for events. We had 5Ks. So I enjoyed the work that I did there. But that got to a point where after a while, my boyfriend at the time and I wanted to move elsewhere after 3 years of working there. We wanted to move to a place that was a little bit bigger. It's not too far away from where I live, so I could, you know, still come back and see my friends and family. And so we both were like, let's set out to do that. Let's go up there, which I'm here now, Columbus, Ohio. I guess some of the things with that, the other reasons besides the moving, why I thought that it was time for me to move on from that job, was I did feel that after a certain amount of time, it was kind of rinse and repeat. It was the same events every year, and you could change it up a little bit, but again, there was like a lot of, I was doing like 4 or 5 newsletters. I just felt like I had got to a point where I wasn't growing anymore as a designer, and at that point growing as a designer was important to me because I knew that I wasn't going to be there for the rest of my life. I wasn't going to be there forever, so growth was really important, and making sure that I was pushing myself and that I had opportunities in the future, because it gets to a certain point where if you've been somewhere for long enough, you kind of could either stay there and keep going or make a decision to go somewhere that you might better yourself, or you might have a different perspective and change and grow as a designer. Either way is totally valid, but I decided to move and I got a job up here working for a dental clinic. And again I felt like starting over in a way because it was a completely different brand, but I had such a foundation that in that job, again, I grew so much after that point as well. Learning the brand, and I felt like I would say like every 6 months I would look back at my design work and be like, man, I don't like that anymore. I just don't like how that looks. It's just like, I know that I could do better now. And I think that's a good thing. That's something that you want to do. You want to look back and be like, okay, I know how I would improve that. Even if it's kind of cringy looking at your old stuff. It's nice to know that you've gotten better. And again, throughout this point, I am doing my art as well. After I moved up here to Columbus, I started a sticker shop on Etsy where I was just like doing digital illustration work, and then I made stickers out of that. And I was really enjoying that work, but it was kind of hard to start something like that where you would really want to do a good job and you want to put your everything into it, but you can't put like 110% when you have a job that is full-time. So with that goal that I was trying to pursue with my sticker shop, I'd be staying up till 2-3 a.m. to get like all my stuff to get that ready to launch, because I was doing digital illustrations, and then it became watercolor illustrations. I started doing more because I love watercolor, so I was like, how can I bring that into this little shop? So I started doing more watercolor illustration stickers, and I love that. And they didn't take off like crazy, but people were buying them a little bit, and that made me feel good, even though it was few and far between. Just knowing that somebody was like out there who I didn't know wanted to buy it that made me happy, and happy enough to keep kind of doing it on the side, on the back burner, as something that would make me feel happy. But it was exhausting to like doing a full day at work, coming home, and then being like, all right, now you have like 3 or 4 orders, so package all these things up. And I was cutting them on my machine as well. It was similar to a Cricut. It's called Silhouette, and it's basically the same thing. But anyways, I was doing all that, which took time to package, and it took time to cut and do all that. And then eventually I decided to put my shop on vacation at some point. Was not able, the economy was changing, and I was not able to really move up in my career with that job. I was not able to get any sort of real raise. And I realized at that point, because I had tried many times to get higher pay with that, I had tried to get a raise, and I realized that just wasn't within that budget, and that was just the situation that I was in. So I decided to start applying to other places to try and just get like higher pay to do very similar work. Because honestly, like, I'm not trying to like move into up this corporate ladder. My dog's on the bed scratching. Because my dog likes to try to pretend like she's digging a hole before she tries to sleep. So let me know if your dog does that, because it's hilarious. Yeah, okay, so I started applying to other positions within the area that I could do. I wanted hybrid. I wanted either hybrid or full remote. So anyways, I eventually had a few interviews for different places, and those places didn't work out. But I was okay, because I wasn't really too passionate about those places. I wasn't like, this is my calling. But eventually I had an interview for this place that was willing to pay me more. And I knew that I could do everything that I needed to do for that position. And they were going to pay me a lot more for that. And that was really appealing to me, because I had felt like it was hard to save up money. It was hard to get where I wanted to be financially. I don't know, just being able to put something back in case I wanted to travel, or being able to put something back in case I wanted to buy a house, or my wedding was coming up. That's another huge thing. My wedding was coming up, and I was like, man, and I wasn't even going like crazy expensive on my wedding, but I wanted to be able to pay for as much of that as I could on my own. I got a job offer, and I decided to take it, because I had worked at this place for 4 years, and I had grown a lot, and I was, I was better as a designer, but I just felt like it was time to move on, and it was time for somebody to go into the role that I was in and grow up to that point as well, because that role was kind of stationary. It wasn't going to evolve. It was going to be what it was, and that was fine. But it was more so for somebody looking to grow, looking to just like be there for a time. But most people probably wouldn't want to stay there for their entire career. So I left, and then I went to this new place. This place, it's like a medical supply distribution. Summer, calm down. There's a fly in the window, and she is freaking out, and she wants to murder it. So, okay, the main point of this job is advertising lots of products. It's pretty fast paced. It's typically, I think we would send out anywhere from 10 to 15 emails per month, and I would design new emails every week. And with those emails, there's web banner, there is social media posts and whatnot, but they're all centered around these emails. And so basically everything I do is to push new products, design emails, and that's it. And it's really it's more so about pushing that out than it is about creativity behind making these things look just amazing, like making these things look cool. It's really not about that. It's really just, well, we need to get these into the eyes of our customers because they couldn't care less if this is a good design or what it is. These people really they just need their products. They really just want they want a button they can click on and be like, boom, I ordered our masks. I don't care if it's a black and white, I don't care what the design look like. Why would they care? Okay, after a few months of doing that and going in, I just felt a grind. I started feeling I'm doing the same thing all the time, not doing much new. There was a couple projects that I did that were a little more creative, and I was like, oh, fun, and then immediately was done, was like back to the same thing. After a while of doing that, I wasn't feeling fulfilled, and I didn't quite know that was what I was feeling. I just thought, this is design. I was doing it for so long. I was just like, this is fine. I'm still doing design, and I'm still using my degree, and I'm getting paid more. But I did start noticing I was just more and more tired. After every day, I would be a little bit less excited, a little bit less myself, a little bit more just like, I just need to get through. I just need to go home, and I need to go home and relax and just have a relaxing evening so that I can have enough energy to get through this next day. And it was just to get through this next week. And at the time I didn't realize that's exactly how I was feeling, because I think I was just so focused on my wedding. And that was the main focus. I was like, I just need to save enough. I need to keep going. I'll be okay. I just need to keep going. It'll be fine. And I didn't realize this feeling was just building up. And all the while I was like, this is fine. This is work. This is hard work. This is what it feels like. And you just eventually, you won't be tired anymore because you'll have the wedding be paid off, blah, 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 and so on top of that, I just felt like the quantity of work was a lot. I felt like even when you weren't working on your projects, you're kind of expected to do other things for the job, and you weren't expected to just be like, oh, I can just do my projects and have a walk and relax. And this is not the kind of place for that. I think this is the kind of place where when you're not doing your projects, you're expected to be like, well, what am I going to do to develop my skills, and what am I doing for the company outside of my projects? And that was really, really exhausting. But and there were just some stressful days. So I would say it was a day back in February. We had 3 designers, and one of them had quit. So okay, I was like, okay. So we were 1 designer down, and the other one was on maternity. So we were down from 3 designers to 1 designer, and I had only been there for 6 months or 5 months at the time. I would say that I was just picking up extra things, and so I was doing that, but I was also planning the wedding, all full force planning the wedding. Well, one thing I didn't mention right off the bat is that my husband, then fiance, now husband, we got married in March, is going to Japan, and he's going to be teaching there for a year. And so okay, we have this job that I feel unfulfilled at. We have my picking up extra slack and just being real tired, and it's winter, and the winter is really tiring for me. And then we have knowing that my, fiance is gonna be gone. I want to spend as much time with him as possible. And then there's the wedding. And so all these things. One day, I came into work and I just started crying. And I was just like, I wasn't even trying to like unload or anything like that. I was just like, oh, and just letting it all out. And like told my coworkers, they were like, "Are you okay? You can go home. You can go home. It's fine." And I was just like, "Oh yeah, I just don't think that this is the place for me. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so tired. I don't feel, and I didn't, at the time too, I didn't feel like myself. Like I felt like disconnected from who I was and my entire purpose in life. And like, I know it was really dramatic, but like, I was like, I just don't feel like myself. I feel so tired, and I just don't think I want to be here anymore. So they were really supportive and really nice. And I was like, after that, I was like, okay, I feel a little bit better, and I let that out. And then I was full force back into the wedding. My goodness, this has taken a long time. So they were really supportive about that. They were like, you know what, it's fine. That's totally fine if you feel that way. Don't worry. You're fine for having those feelings. And I was really grateful, because I was like, thank you so much for just validating how I feel and not making me feel like that there's something wrong with me for feeling that way. And of course my fiance was also telling me that's the same things. He's very supportive. Anyway, so that's back in February, and after that, I just kind of was like, I'm gonna do my work, and then that's it. And just once the wedding is over, then we'll figure it out. We'll figure out what I want to do. I would say I'm trying to think of the timeline. So our wedding happened in March, and that was awesome, and that was a lot of fun. And it kind of took me away from work for a week. We had a honeymoon. We just finally got to like do the thing we had been planning for 2 years. And it was a huge just like release, and it was a huge fun party, and it was great. And so, but all this time, so like from the time that I had that meltdown, or whatever you want to call it, like telling everybody, to where we're at now, at some point I started doing more art. I started actually painting and more. I started just being like, I am gonna use my time, every bit of it that I can, to do my art and to focus on that, the thing that I love doing. I'm gonna focus on doing that as much as I can outside of my job. And I would get the work done at work, and I would immediately start thinking, even if I was at work and I had my work done, I wouldn't be thinking, how can I improve this company? I would not be thinking about that. I'd be thinking about, what is my next painting concept? And I would go on walks, and I would try and get inspiration from nature and from everywhere. And I would just, instead of my focus being work anymore, I was like, no, I'm gonna focus on creativity. Every chance that I get, I'm pouring into my own creativity. And so, like, I decided that I wanted to open up my own shop that was my art. And yeah, so that's what I'm working on. So I went full force into just doing my art, and I went full force into every second that I had that was outside of work, that I had energy for. I was doing my art and making paintings. I started doing linoleum, like carving linoleum, and I just had seen a lot of that. I don't know, I had seen it on Instagram or something, and I was like, that's amazing. And I knew I had done that back in high school, and I knew what it was, but I didn't realize how much detail that you could get with that. And I'm just starting off, so I'm not like crazy into that journey yet, but that was something I'm just been enjoying so much. And doing that, doing the linoleum cutting and doing my watercolors again, and all of that just re-inspired me with what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing, because I think that the only compass that we have to go by of like, what am I supposed to be doing? What would be best for me to be doing is how we feel when we do it. And if you find something that, when you get into a flow, if you find something that takes you in, that like puts you back into the moment, puts you back into your body, and you are flowing and you are so excited and just inspired, that's a sign. That's a sign that you should be doing that thing. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are. Your skill level does not matter. What matters is that you're doing that thing and that you're happy doing it. And so anyways, I was doing all of these things outside of work and really excited by the idea of starting my own art business. And that's what I'm working on right now. That's what I'm going for right now, is to build that up, and it's gonna take a long time and a lot of perseverance, but that's what I have been focusing on for the past few, I don't know, couple months, month and a half, I don't know. Like, it's hard to keep track of time these days because so much is happening. But yeah, so I'm doing all that and going to work full time at my job, and realizing that this is not the kind of job that you just, I don't know if you can hear the rain, hopefully it's not too loud. But this is not the kind of place to work where you're not really in it. You're just kind of like, get the job done and go. And you know, some people can do that, and that's great that they could do that here. But I had a really hard time. Over the last couple months, I've had a really hard time going in every day and doing those tasks that I need to do, and like actually getting everything done, because it's not where I want to be. It's not where my heart wants to be. But I like, over the last few like weeks and months, I've been like trying to be like, universe, like I've been doing some tarot stuff. I've gotten really into tarot over the last year or so, and I'm not like really well versed in all the meanings of everything, but I've been doing a lot of like, I'll pull a tarot card for myself and just be like trying to figure out what the message is, and or like what message comes up and what did I want it to say. There's what did the tarot card actually say? What message did it bring me? And then there's what did I want it to actually say to me? And just interpreting all that, because you know, it's your inner self, it's the universe, it's whatever, and whatever message you take from it, whether it was like, well, yeah, that's just what you wanted to happen and that's just what you wanted to hear. Well, So what? Because sometimes you need something, you need a tool to know what you want to hear. You need a tool to know what your inner self, your guide is telling you. So that's where that comes in. It's just like you pull a card and it says, yeah, you should definitely quit your job. Like the card is just like, yeah, go for it. You need to cut ties. And either you just feel like, oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, that card's just lying to me. Or you're like, yeah, that's my excuse. Yep, I'm taking that advice. Like that, I'm claiming that. So whatever that you feel when you pull that just says a lot. It just tells you a lot. All of my tarot cards were telling me like there's something that you need to let go of in order to go on to your next step in your journey. There's something that you need to cut off in order to actually to reach your potential, to reach where you want to be, and once you do that, it opens up a whole new world for discovery and doing what you love and what you want to do. And I was just like, okay, so they've been telling me this for a long time, but really I've been telling myself this for a bit. I am in a very privileged position to be able to actually be able to take a little bit of time and to just work on my art and really pursue what it is that my soul wants to be doing. Because I was like, another thing is just I've listened to these podcasts of different people in like the witchy community and in just a lot of the witchy community, because I just really enjoy that community and what they have to say about different things, and like I feel like I resonate with a lot of those people. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Yeah. So after all these things and knowing just how I feel, and on top of that, just feeling more drained these days at my job, more tired, and really not seeing any end in sight to me, just not feeling myself, or no end in sight to just of this job, of it getting better and being more of what I want it. There's nothing wrong with not wanting to work anywhere, wherever that place is. If you don't feel good there, I'd say give it some time, of course. Like some places it's like, oh, a couple weeks and you've been there, just stick it out for like a month or whatever. Like sometimes it's really hard when you first start. But anyways, yeah, like I'm just saying, don't feel like there's anything wrong with you if you don't want to work somewhere and you decide to just not work there and you decide to move on. There's nothing wrong with that, and there are so many people who do that. Listen to yourself, trust yourself, and what you feel in your bones. There's a reason you feel that way, and you got to figure that out for yourself, what that is, what's causing that. But trust that feeling, because it's like the universe guiding you into where you should be. So anyways, so I had just like talked to my husband, talked to my mom, talked to my best friends, and they were all supportive of me just quitting this job. And I took that as just another yes, another go for it, another sign that I was doing the right thing. And so I just was like, okay, I have the capability of doing this. I have the resources, and this is the best time for me to go for something like this. And so I was like, told my fiance, he was like, so what are you gonna do? And I was like, well, I'm inclined to make a move. And I did. I just was like 2 days later, I just walked in and I had a one-on-one and I told my boss everything. I did say that I was really, really grateful that I was able to work there and that it just wasn't for me. And she understood 100%. And she was just like really supportive, and even more so than I thought she would be. And it felt like that was a really good way to end my working there, was just being 100% honest and being like, just telling them exactly, like, because I can't be dishonest. I cannot lie. And if I don't enjoy something, you know it, because it's not, you could just see in my face, and you could just see in my body language, wow, like, she's fucking unhappy. Like, what? She's unhappy. You could tell. And I just didn't want to lie anymore. I want to lie to myself, to my coworkers, to my boss, to my, the universe. Like, I didn't want to lie. And I felt a weight lifted, a huge weight lifted off of me. And yeah, it's felt great. And I think it's felt great knowing that I won't have to continue doing that, and I can continue working on my art. Now there is an end in sight. I know exactly when I'm not going to be there anymore. And I know that I'm where I'm supposed to be. And I haven't felt that in a long time, of knowing that. And that's a really good feeling. So, but I know that what I want to be focusing on, and why I want to be doing it, and I want that for everybody, because that's what we're here for, to find out what it is we want to do, who we want to be, and to learn and to grow. So that's all. Like, that is mostly what I wanted to say. With anything else that I've ever done before with my art, a lot of it's been like, I really just enjoy painting this particular thing, and I like doing it, and so I will do it. And with this, it's that, like, it is a lot of that, of I like doing this, so I'm gonna do it. But also, I want to inspire people that you can take a lot of your negative experiences in life, and the negative things that happen, or it doesn't even necessarily have to be a terrible experience, but you can take this stress and chaos that happens, and you can turn it into something totally different, totally beautiful, and transform that. And that's why I want to call it personal alchemy, because that is alchemy. You're taking something not so great and turning it into something amazing and complete opposite, and that is beautiful. That's one of the big messages that I want to put out there, and with my art, and with my energy. That's what I want to do. I want to take that feeling and let other people know that too. So, anyways, thank you for listening to me and for watching this video, and I really appreciate everybody who happens upon this, who sees it. And I just want you to know that if you've been through any of these things, you're not alone. You're totally worthy of feeling all of that, going through that, and changing direction. You should feel validated in that. Everybody should. So listen to your inner guide, to your inner self. Get support from people who actually have your best interests in mind. And just don't be afraid to listen to yourself. You will be absolutely fine. Even if things get hard, you will be fine. I promise. Okay. I have a little, if you want to see, we moved into this new place a week ago. A little over a week ago. And I set up this is one of the first things that I set up. Hold on. tarot cards. I got my plant that I'm able to put on the wall, and I've been wanting to do it this way for a long time. And I'm so excited to be able to do that now. I got witchy books. I got candles. What more do you need? And my cork board. I love this place. It's great. It's great for creativity. But anyways. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and thanks for listening. I'll make another video soon. Promise. Bye.